That's good, Joe. What's going on, whoever you are watching this video from your home, from your phone, wherever you are. So what we're going to be talking about today is the 4 things that successful brands have in common. What I mean by brands is D2C e-commerce focused brands. Who am I? I'm Jordan White. I'm the founder of Carton Box Media. Over our years of being in business, we've accumulated over $88 million worth of spend. For all of our clients, we have an average of an 8.9x MER. MER stands for marketing efficiency ratio. So basically, total revenue divided by marketing efforts, that's an 8.9x return on all marketing efforts. Pretty cool. Reason why I'm saying that is because who am I? I'm just some guy on the internet with a weird mustache who you're listening to for whatever reason, and I appreciate you being here. But what I want to talk to you about is, again, what these brands have in common so you can reevaluate your business and maybe make a little twist here, a little tweak here, and just a little shine right here just to make it nice and pretty. Cool. Let's get into it. So the first metric is your margins and unit economics. And what I mean by margins is post-COGS, COGS being cost of goods sold, post-OPEX, OPEX being operating expenses, post-shipping, post-tariffs, post-inventory, post-manufacturing, post-ad spend, post-service fee, post-everything. It is essential for you to understand what it actually costs for you to be acquiring a purchase, a net new customer at a profitable rate, post-everything, post-all expenses. So what does profitability mean for you, right? Side note, I have a YouTube video going over our COGS and OPEX sheet. You can check that out. You can download our format that we use to figure out what actually maths for the brands, post-COGS, post-OPEX, post-everything. So you can fill out that sheet yourself. I'll link it below in the description. The second metric is your conversion rate, right? Theoretically, if your conversion rate is 2%, that means 2 out of 100 visitors that come into your site make a purchase. Increasing your conversion rate to 3% would obviously grow your business. And similarly, if your conversion rate is at 1% and we increase it to 2%, we have effectively doubled your business without changing anything. If you're getting 50,000 people into your site because of your ads, because of your organic SEO, whatever, and you just alter your conversion rate, you can change the scope of your business entirely. Right. So this just demonstrates the importance of conversion rates, and I'll go over how to improve your CR a little bit later in this video. So your third metric is your marketing efforts as a whole. How healthy is your marketing? Meta ads, Google ads, TikTok ads, organic, Pinterest, Bing. What are you doing? How effective is it? What's the lowest hanging fruit? I'll go over that a little bit more in detail later on in the video as well. Understanding the health of your marketing strategy from a macro and micro level is vital, right? And from a macro, you get to see, it's kind of fun, what paid acquisition methods are yielding the best returns. Do we want to double down here? Do we want to take those profits and allocate it to a new platform? And just understand how paid acquisition is working as a whole and just your marketing as a whole, right? From the micro, again, I'll get into that a little bit later. But if you have yourself an amazing business with an amazing product market fit, great unit economics, solid conversion rate, your LTV, your AOV, they're there, which is the fourth. How healthy is your client LTV and returning customer rate? And how is the average order value considered when somebody comes into your purchase? Going back to the conversion rate, if 2 out of 100 people make a purchase, those 2 people, let's say it's John and Jerry, how much do John and Jerry spend and how can we improve that? Anyway, before I get off topic, it is essential to recognize that even the best media buyers in the world can only amplify what you have built so far as a business. I just listened to this recent podcast with Elon Musk on Lex Fridman, and he's doing his new Optimus project, which is basically just a human robot that can do household stuff. It's pretty cool. But he emphasizes that the whole process should focus on not optimizing something that should not exist. If something isn't optimized or as good as it could be, i.e. your business, why build on top of that? Why build a house on sand when you could build a house on freaking concrete and something stable? He and the Optimus team focus all their efforts on building, then deleting what isn't working, then optimizing. Then what's after that? Well, it's followed by more building and then more deletions and then more building and then more deletions until the final product is this hyper optimal machine, no pun intended, and serves as a foundation for growth. And again, I was using the Elon Musk example, but It's the exact same concept for your business. So before you double down on anything, you need an undeniable proof of concept, including good AOV, good margins, and healthy marketing. Amplifying a poorly performing business is only going to exacerbate its current issues, making it more challenging to succeed in the future. Duh. So basically, to summarize, the four most important metrics are margins and health of unit economics. Number two, what is the AOV and LTV of your customers? Number three, your conversion rate. And number four, the health of your current marketing efforts. If you have check, and check, everything makes sense. Good news. You need to spend more money and you're going to grow your business extremely profitably. If you don't have all four of those checks, then it's time to allocate your efforts on what you don't have. What is the lowest hanging fruit? What can you immediately optimize to have a healthier business? So let's get into number one, unit economics. So this is arguably the most important aspect of your entire business. Unit economics. It's boring, it's necessary. It's the baseline of your business, right? And so you need to ask yourself, what does profitability mean for you? What cost per acquisition do you need to achieve for your business to be profitable? What actually maths for your business? You got to consider all factors, whether you're working with a team, a marketing agency, what is your profitability post ad spend, post service fee, post shipping, post offer, post inventory, post tariffs, post cargo. How healthy is your inventory, et cetera, right? Look at everything. Even take into account, foreign events. Like if you're getting manufactured in China, understand how Chinese New Year is going to slow things down. Or if another boat gets stuck in the Suez Canal, just understand, things happen and you need to take that into account. It is absolutely shocking how many brands do not understand what their profitability is. A lot of them just have a product, they start marketing, they're getting what they think is a good return on ad spend. And then we audit their account. We're like, hey, let's just say they're getting a 3x return on ad spend. How much are you guys taking home?
Oh, well, I think we're 20% margins, 10%. I don't know.
Then we have to go over the whole entire unit economic sheet with them. And we figure out that, a 2.9 is break even for them. And so they've only been getting a 3x return on ad spend, which is like 10% profits, if that. So this should be your first step before you even start running ads. If you're currently running ads and you don't know your unit health economics, then maybe this is what you should be focusing on. Where are you being manufactured? What is the cost of working with that manufacturer? Based on your volume of order quantity, how much of a discount can you expect? Does it make sense for you to order a smaller quantity to test it out at a higher cost because you're ordering a smaller amount and then potentially save money by ordering a larger quantity later on? Or do you already have that proof of concept with your specific product and you want to place that larger order to save money and just aggressively market your hero or winning product? When evaluating your manufacturers, consider whether it makes more sense to produce in the United States or whatever home country you're living in, or would it be more cost effective to manufacture in Vietnam, Thailand, Taiwan, China, Mexico, India? I mean, while these options may lower your production cost, be aware of, what the shipping for that is and the potential new tariff regulations that may get implemented. At the time of filming this, it's December of 2024. Trump isn't in the office yet, but Trump is talking about, implementing some new tariff regulations. So just keep that in mind and how it could potentially affect your business. However, let's back up, right? In the beginning, you will need to understand what your unit economics are, but it is also essential to consistently optimize and update your financials. An Excel sheet, Google sheet, your, Google Sheet Empire, we all have one. That's going to be a very, very useful tool. Just make sure that you're consistently updating it. If you're a one-man band, sorry, you're going to have to get involved in this. But if you do have a COO, this is where their role becomes absolutely crucial because they need to analyze what profitability means in different contexts, such as comparing May to March or Q2 to Q4 or last year's spring sale versus this year's spring sale, especially during peak seasons like Black Friday. Some other things you need to consider is your seasonality, which, by the way, if you don't have a marketing calendar, make a marketing calendar, right? You need to understand when people are buying and when people aren't. Also, how much will you spend based on your inventory levels? Will you be running a pre-sale if you're out of stock? There are so many factors to take into account. So the one thing I want you to use as your North Star metric when, auditing your unit economics is the better your margins, the easier it will be to achieve profitability. I'm subscribed to Hermosi's newsletter, and on one of his recent newsletters, he discusses that he only invests in companies with margins of 80% or more. He also says, instead of thinking, there's no way I could get my margins to 80%, you need to ask yourself, how can I get my margins to 80%? And this could involve a price increase, finding a new manufacturer, or establishing a new minimum order value that somebody needs to make when they come to your site. There are a million strategies to improve your margins, a million. And if your margins are low right now, you don't necessarily need to get them to 80% tomorrow, but there probably is 3 or 4 things you could do to increase it by 10 or 20% in a very quick manner, probably quicker than you think. Now, obviously, you're going to have to consider your branding and your brand positioning. There are numerous ways to approach this, but at all costs, no pun intended, you need to avoid being a business that requires an 8x return to break even. That sucks. You're playing the game on hard mode. Aim to be a business that only needs a 1.2x to break even. Aim to be a business that needs a 1.4, a 1.5x to break even. And I'm talking about the paid acquisition, but whether you like it or not, you're going to have to get into the paid acquisition game or improve what you're currently doing with the paid acquisition game. And let's just say you have the worst marketing team ever. Even if you do need a 1.2 to 1.5x to break even, you will get better results if you need a 3x to break even, right? Get your margins to as close as 80% as you possibly can. Again, marketing just amplifies the health of your current business state. That's all it's doing. Again, you could have the best marketing team in the entire freaking world. If you have a house that's built on sand, it's going to be hard to add a 3rd level. It's going to be hard to add another master bedroom, right? Build a business worth scaling that's strong. A healthy business is one that is as profitable as possible and allows your marketing team the freedom to spend on ads and test different marketing strategies and test different angles and hook points and build your brand with much lower risk than a brand that is sitting at 20% margins. I mean, if you sell your product at $100 with 80% margins, you can afford to spend $80 to break even. Now, conversely, if your margins are only 20%, you would need to achieve a CPA of under $20 to be profitable, which is possible. I want to make that clear. That is possible, but it makes growing your business significantly more challenging. And again, like I said earlier, you're playing the game on hard mode. Now, if you want, we can assist you in finding a factory and an inventory partner. We have 3PL partners in the USA and we have a ton of connections in Asia. But I really, really want to hammer down this point on you just asking yourself, how can you improve your margins? Now, I'll be totally honest with you. Finding an answer is probably not going to be cheap, but it is an investment into your future, right? And what I mean by not cheap is that could be equity, or that could be sweat equity, right? But regardless, you need to put in the work. Now, you may need to switch your manufacturers, your factories, or the country that your product is being made in. And this is going to involve you visiting these factories to understand their operations and you personally building these relationships with these people, because these manufacturers, and I know we have this stigma of like, oh, this was made in China, or oh, this was made, outside of my home country. These are people that are making your product. These are people that have emotions. These are people that get happy, get sad. So they may as well be happy when they think of you and understand that when they're making a product, that when they make that product, they think of you. And when they think of you, they get a smile on their face. They're happy when they think of you and they're not pissed off, right? Because great way to lower your reputation. Anyway, what does this mean? This means that you, my friend, are going to get on some 14-hour plus flights and go there yourself, right? Now, this is going to sound like some tough love, and that's exactly what it is, but I need you to stop making excuses for why your margins are low. There is always, always, always a way to maintain your brand presence, maintain your brand credibility while improving your margins. Cool. Those are your unit economics. Let's talk about conversion rate. Conversion rate can be influenced by various factors that affect how high or low your conversion rate truly is. So whether your website attracts 10,000 or 10 million visitors each month, or regardless of the size of your business, there are always several strategies you can employ to boost that conversion rate. It's never going to be a one-size-fits-all solution, but there are ways to see where the wind is sailing so you can set up your sales accordingly, right? So, first way, if your website CR is relatively low, this first example is more of a how can I increase my CR tomorrow type of approach, right? Think of this putting a band aid on a scar. Something may need stitches, but this is going to help for the time being. So, what I want you to do is examine which products are generating the majority of your sales. If you have one, two, or three products that account for 60% or more of your sales, ask yourself why these products are performing so well. Next, I want you to consider whether these products can be bundled together. So, for example, if you're in the beauty and cosmetics niche and your products help hair growth, then you could bundle your top selling hair growth product with a scrunchie that stimulates hair follicles, for example. So, a better example would be instead of just selling wheels and motors, sell the whole freaking car. Try and figure out how your products can be a complete package for whatever problem somebody is currently going through, right? So let's just say that you have 100 SKUs worth of products on your website. Identify the top one, two, or three best-selling products. Just think about, again, like I said earlier, if one, two, or three products are doing 60% or more of the sales. And then I want you to understand why customers are actually purchasing them and then bundle them together. And a great way to bundle them together is to get a landing page. Now, once you get that new landing page, you can direct your traffic to that newly bundled landing page that highlights, all your USPs, your customer testimonials, the problems that your products are solving, your social proof, just make it the we are the best, us versus them, 5 reasons why. Here's unlimited scrolling of people stoked with our product. That's a good landing page. And if you're spending money on ads and your CR is relatively low, you can now allocate your paid ads to this new bundled landing page. So if your entire site has a low conversion rate, this can and should lead to increased purchases and a higher conversion rate. So for example, this is one of our clients. We work with a brand that sells earpieces, right? And the last time his website was updated was like 2016. We asked him what his best-selling products were, and we created a specific landing page for 2 products that accounted for 98% of his sales. So what he had was a one-piece earpiece, and then he had the earpiece that goes in both ears. Those are the 2 best-selling products. He had a bunch of other knickknacks that could improve the quality, reduce static, et cetera, et cetera. They were not getting basically any sales. It was his hero product. And so after implementing this landing page, their monthly revenue increased from around $5K a month to $30,000 and $40,000 a month in about a month and a half. I think I can pull up the results, or we can hop on a call and I'll show you it personally. But anyway, his ROAS went from a 0.5 to a 4.5 almost overnight. And to this day, we continue to direct almost all traffic to that landing page. And now keep in mind, we've split tested different landing pages since then, but the point remains the same, where these 2 products that are doing 98% of his sales need to basically be dolled up, dressed up, nice and purty, real good looking, right? Because the success of his hero products tell a story of where we should be directing the traffic to. Now, that's just one way to increase your conversion rate. Another aspect to consider is the setup of your marketing campaigns as a whole and just paid acquisition efforts. Now, another aspect for you to consider is the setup of your meta campaigns and just your entire paid acquisition platforms as a whole. Okay, so let's talk about meta ads, and this should hopefully be obvious to most. But if you are optimizing for views, link clicks, engagement, likes, views, if you're not optimizing for purchases, the traffic coming into your site is freaking junk, garbo. The Pixel, or it's called Dataset and Conversions API now, but I'm old-fashioned. I'm going to keep calling it the Pixel, is designed to learn what you want it to learn. If you want more views of engagement, it's going to deliver more views and engagement, and it's going to target more people to get more views and engagement. However, wouldn't it make more sense for you to optimize the Pixel for conversion so it finds people that are interested in purchasing that have a higher buying intent rather than just clicking a link? Duh, Now, that being said, building a brand and maintaining a strong social media presence are important. However, the primary focus of paid ads should be on acquiring net new customers at a profitable rate, which is the whole point of marketing. So what I want you to do, and if you don't understand meta ads, I want you to hire us or somebody that you trust, review your account. to ensure it's optimized for purchases. Avoid audience stacking, avoid specific targeting that's limiting your budget, avoid stockpiling a shit ton of countries. Really, you want your campaigns to be working on broad, so you're targeting everybody. And again, I know you're going to say, well, my product is very niched and I need to only target. Yeah, okay, for sure. Like, okay, every business is different. I'm talking about if you really want to grow your business, the best way to optimize your Meta account is to have it work on broad and have your creatives do majority of the selling for you. Anyway, there's so many things I could talk about. If your creatives aren't being regularly updated, if you're getting ad fatigue, if you're looking at your specific creatives and you're like, oh my gosh, this particular UGC got a 7x. That's the first time we got a 7x return on ad spend. How can we come into next month with similar UGC based on what's receptive to your market, based on what's getting majority of the purchases? Right. Also, looking at your marketing calendar that aligns with your sales plans based on previous year's performance. If you've been in business for 1 year or more, then you understand how last year went. You understand what months were high months, what months were low months, and that way you can optimize your spend accordingly. So maybe you lower spend to try and increase ROAS on your low months, and then you increase spend to try and optimize all that demand and capture all that demand when you're in your high months. Optimizing your paid ads could be the issue that you're having, and it may help you increase your CR if you just bring in more qualified people. Now, if you've tested these two methods and you're still having issues, I'm talking bundled landing pages, specific landing pages to products that are your hero products, you've optimized all of your ads correctly, and your conversion rate is still poo-poo, it may be time to bring out the big guns and conduct an actual conversion rate optimization audit, right? And so since I'm in this industry, I'll walk you through like kind of the typical CRO agency model. It's CRO agencies prefer to work with brands that receive at least 50,000 visitors a month because this is going to allow them to effectively split test. So if you're a small to mid-sized business doing, 20K to 200K a month, it's probably time to optimize your site and conversion rate. Again, going back to my example, if you increase your conversion rate from 1% to 2%, from 1% to 3%, you've just doubled or tripled your business by literally doing the exact same marketing you were doing before. So what does a CR audit mean? They're going to test different landing pages, different offers, different product pages, streamlining the checkout process, maybe even rebranding the entire site, right? You need to be very unemotional about this. And I know that your branding is what a lot of business owners are attached to, and there's nothing wrong with that. But making money is more fun than having a brand you're attached to. I said it. So with Meta, here's what's cool. You can see basically the entire customer's journey. Again, not macro level here, just from Meta ads. So let me explain. You can see the cost per click. You can see the cost per website visit. You can see the cost per add to cart. You can see the cost per initiated checkout. And then eventually you can see what the cost per purchase is. And each of these metrics should progressively increase. Again, cost per click, cost per website visit, cost per add to cart, cost per purchase. It should look like the AT&T raising the bar logo, and each metric should just be a little bit more expensive than the other. So, for example, if you see a low cost per add to cart, but a significantly higher cost per checkout, this indicates that there's probably an issue with your site or just the customer buying process as a whole. So, for example, we're working with a knife brand, and when we took them on, their AOV was around $170 to $200. Really good AOV, great margins, cool brand. Not only that, but they were currently getting a $25 cost per add to cart, which is freaking awesome with an AOV of $170 to $200. However, the $120 cost per checkout that they were getting freaking sucked, right? So from $25 cost per add to cart to $120 cost per checkout, like, dude, the gap is nuts, right? So we analyzed the entire funnel. We went through the entire buying process. And what we discovered is when somebody would add their products to their cart, there was an 8-second delay when customers clicked on their cart to make a purchase. So imagine clicking on the cart, 1001, 1002, 1003, all the way to 8 seconds. And, I know 8 seconds relatively isn't a lot of time, but what you're doing with ads is literally direct response marketing. You're getting people to directly respond to make a purchase. And an 8-second delay is why the cost per purchase was $125. I know this may seem minor, but it can significantly impact impatient buyers. I'm an impatient buyer. Whether you think you are or not, you are, especially in direct response marketing, which again is exactly what we're doing with these ads. So anyway, we resolved the 8-second delay issue, and this reduced the cost per checkout to $35 in about a week, right? It's insane. And so do that fun little hack. You can see, where people are falling off in your site if you are running ads. So to bring it all home, if your conversion rate is lower than it should be, and really quick, let me just put a graph right here so you can see how high your AOV is and what your conversion rate should be. Again, the higher your AOV, the lower your conversion rate should be. The lower your AOV, the higher your conversion rate should be, right? So check out that graph, but look at it. And this is just industry standard, right? Are you above average? Are you below average? Are you average? Figure it out. And whatever answer you get once you figure it out, allocate accordingly. Maybe it's time to increase spend because you're absolutely freaking crushing it. Maybe it's time to get the CRO audit. Maybe it's time to restructure your meta ads account to basically see where people are falling off. Maybe you just need a new landing page. But regardless, this is one of the biggest driving factors in what we look at before we take on a business. Okay, number 3. The health of your current marketing efforts is crucial. I mean, duh, right? But how long have you been in business? Is this your first year and you have budget to spend? Okay, well, be prepared to test, fail, win, and just see how the market responds to your product. This is going to allow you to build a strong marketing calendar for next year based on what and when people are purchasing. You can then recognize patterns, come into next year even stronger. And again, like I said earlier, get yourself a marketing calendar, right? Analyze how each month is doing. Analyze what offers you're running, right? Here's a very basic example. If you sell snowboard jackets and are running ads in the summer, you'll find out soon enough that it may be wise to lower your budget during this time and increase it again when fall and winter arrive. Quick side note, my favorite brands to work with are those whose peak seasons are spring and summer, as they can capitalize on their high season being spring and summer. And then also when they're non-season, technically they are in season because it's Black Friday, it's Q4, it's the holiday season, it's Cyber Monday, which means that they are never out of season, which chef's kiss, brands that have spring, summer seasonality are the best, right? Anyways, me and the team, our specialization lies in growing your brand profitably. Again, I said this earlier, let me hammer it down. I want to drill it into your brain. The whole point of marketing is to be acquiring net new customers at a profitable rate. So if you're listening to this, you fall into 2 buckets. You're considering running ads, or you're already running them and you want them to be better. So for instance, if you're spending $50K a month on Meta, $30K a month on Google, relatively mid-sized business, and let's just say $3K a month on Pinterest. I recently spoke with a brand yesterday in this exact same situation. And when you're analyzing platforms like Meta, Google, TikTok, Bing, Pinterest, YouTube, whatever, the primary goal is to be getting those customers profitably. And to go a bit more in depth here, so if you're a brand and your CPA, and CPA stands for cost per acquisition if you didn't know, you're shooting for a $25 to $35 CPA, but you're currently getting a $50 cost per acquisition. Well, step 1 is to lower your CPA to that goal. And there's a great amount of methods to do that. And I'll go into that a little bit more in detail. But once we achieve, your marketing team, or us, wink, wink, can confidently approach you as the brand owner and say, hey, we've reached this $25 CPA. We're confident in maintaining this CPA of $25. Do we have permission to increase the spend for next month if we can maintain the CPA? You, being the smart business owner you are, would obviously say yes. And that would be the entire strategy behind all things marketing. How can we get a CPA of $25 that maths for your business, post-COGS, post-OPEX, post-service fee, post-ad spend, post-everything, but instead of spending $5,000 a month, we're now spending $12,000 a month, then $50,000 a month, then $100,000 a month, then $100,000 a day, all with the goal of maintaining that $25 CPA. Now, a brand, and I know I don't have to convince you of this, but a brand that's spending $5,000 versus a brand that's spending $50,000 that are both getting that CPA of $25 are 2 completely different businesses. And finding a good marketing team that can actually look at the health of the whole business, the whole creative strategy, what are the lowest hanging fruit? What acquisition platforms are bringing in the best rewards, the best returns, the most purchases profitably? It all comes down to, how can we maintain a CPA that's profitable, but scale the living shit out of the business. That's how you do business. That's what a good marketing partner does, right? So to get into that a little bit more in detail, to increase your spend while maintaining a solid CPA, the first step is to focus on your creatives. You got to understand which creatives are performing the best. For instance, if static ads yield a 4x return, but user generated content or UGC is getting a 6.7x return, again, just an example, right now statics are crushing it, then we need to analyze who's in the UGC, who's the client avatar we're talking about, what's the market messaging, what hook points are we looking at, what are the engagement metrics, how are we getting those, for lack of better words, thumb stoppers, those scroll stoppers, right? Once you look at everything and you've dissected why this is yielding positive returns, great. Time to build a pipeline of new creatives based on what's resonating with your market. Because here's the thing, that creative that's getting you a 6.7x return on ad spend is going to fatigue at some rate, right? So having a pipeline of creatives based on what's already working is going to prevent creative fatigue. And this is going to allow you to maintain that $25 CPA with the ROAS of 5, 6, 7, whatever our target ROAS is, right? But Jordan, what about unicorn creatives? These do exist, and discovering them is so exciting. For example, this is funny. So, for example, one of our clients, Bijou Build, Amanda's amazing. Check out her testimonial with them. She is doing about $500,000 a year now. She started out doing $20K a month. Little flex, no shame. They have the ugliest creative I have ever seen in my entire life. I actually hate it. I have a deep passion for just my dislike and disdain, and it's just gross. I don't like the creative. However, it's accumulated around $84,000 in spend, and it's maintained a 6.9x ROAS month over month. Now, despite my personal disdain and dislike for it, you got to be smart. You got to remain unemotional about what's working. If you have a creative that you think is worth testing and you think it's freaking awesome, throw it in the market. Let's see how it responds. But if it doesn't work, then don't push more money to it. Duh. And I know that sounds obvious, but you would be shocked how many people are tied up with their branding, their love for the creative, the hard work they put into making the creative. Maybe it's a potential influencer that they've been trying to get for months. If the creative doesn't perform, it doesn't perform, right? It's time to get more creatives that do perform. So what I don't want you to be is we often encounter brands that resist testing these high performing creatives due to their, brand guidelines, their branding colors. And again, it's incredibly important to maintain your brand integrity. Okay, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to tell you how to run your business. I'm not going to tell you how you should brand your business. But from a paid ads perspective, however, it is detrimental to understand that in the paid ads world, you're playing a different game and you're reaching out to people who don't even know that your brand exists. So you need to understand what your market likes, not your current audience that you've built, what your market responds to, what people are actually enjoying about the content, about the creative, what's making them actually get those purchases. And we've had, and I made a video about this, but we had for the first time ever in a brand get around, I think, a 7 or 8x return on ad spend on a specific creative that we tested. And we're like, hey, client, great news. We're finally getting an 8x. Your account has never seen an 8x before. Well, I actually don't like the colors and the font here needs to be different. And we had to take it down. And then the business went back to doing 4x to 3x. And it's like, okay, congrats. You have the same branding, but now you're way less profitable than you could have been. And again, I broken record Jordan over here. I know that sounds obvious, but please do not get emotionally attached to your brand guidelines. If something's resonating with your market, the market's unemotional. The market doesn't care about your brand guidelines. The market tells you what people like and what people don't. Now, to go off on a little side tangent, this is why I love Meta, is Meta allows for testing all these different types of creatives that may perform well on different platforms. So with Meta, you can test statics, UGC, podcast clips, your current content. We could do a scraping of, what your reviews are, what people actually like. We can take a negative comment, film UGC actually answering how that negative comment is a positive. And here's what the actual product does to solve the problem that this negative comment brought up. For example, these winter jackets would never survive a winter where I'm from. And then it's a response of a video of the winter jacket in Antarctica in the worst snowstorm ever, right? Like that's a perfect example of just, you can test any type of ad you want on Meta. It could literally be a photo with text. It really doesn't matter. You can test everything. And where I'm going with this is, let's just say, for example, these static and still ads are yielding the highest ROAS. Well, cool. Now you can do two things. One, you can scale your budget on Meta to consistently and predictably acquire net new customers at a profitable rate. But you can also take those creatives. You haven't tested a specific platform like Google, then you can basically test these statics on Google shopping campaigns or Pinterest campaigns or these other platforms where they're static based. On the contrary, if UGC is working well on Meta, guess what? It's probably going to perform pretty dang well on TikTok or YouTube Shorts, right? And every new platform that you get into, there's going to be a different client avatar, different buyer. I get that. But if you're starting from scratch on a new platform, you're at least sailing with the wind. You at least understand what's resonating with your market. And if TikTok is UGC friendly, YouTube Shorts is UGC friendly, you have a UGC on Meta that's resonating and getting positive purchases, post-COGS, post-OPEX, you're sailing with the wind going into TikTok rather than just starting completely blind here, right? Side tangent over. The health of your marketing ultimately comes down to assessing your current strategies. We can conduct an audit to identify areas for improvement if you like. To do a quick plug for us, we work with a select group of brands, many of which we actually hold equity in now. And this allows us to see what works across different brands and apply those insights to yours. So for example, we're working with multiple fashion and apparel companies, from luxury linen to women's fast fashion to MMA brands to gym clothing to, bikinis, you name it, right? But we can identify what creatives are successful for them and then replicate that with new clients, which I think is an incredibly valuable tool that, gives us an advantage if taking on a new client in a similar market, similar niche. So whether you work with us or not, another tool that you can use is a tool called Foreplay. And I swear to God, that's a marketing site. But this allows you to analyze your competitors' ads. And I know you're thinking, well, Jordan, Facebook ads library, like I can do it there. Yes, you can, for sure. But what makes Foreplay different is, think of your competitors. Think of, the big boys in your industries. If you know that they're spending $10,000 a day, $50,000 a day, they have a huge, fully built out marketing team, you can examine their creatives and the duration of how long they've been running. And so if a creative from your competitor has been live for 60 days and they're spending 10 to 40K a day, it's probably doing pretty dang well, right? And no savvy marketer that's behind the marketing team is going to keep an ad live for that long unless it's absolutely crushing it. So if you see an ad from a big boy competitor and you see that it's been live for 30, 40, 60 days, take that. That's resonating with your market, but put a little your brand twist on it and you're sailing with the wind rather than against it. And it's way better than just Facebook ads library. However, at the end of the day, it's about identifying the lowest hanging fruit of where you're currently at. Should you scale your current acquisition channel of Meta ads, or should you allocate your budget to exploring platforms like YouTube, TikTok, Google, maybe doubling down on organic, right? Look, if you want us to audit where you're currently at, your entire account, your business health as a whole, feel free to book a call. We can chat, discuss this further, or just keep watching the video. Totally up to you. So like I discussed when I was talking about conversion rate optimization, a great way to increase your AOV, or average order value, is to bundle your best-selling products together, or perhaps new products. So if your AOV is around $50 because customers are purchasing 2 products worth $25 each, just for example, you can then analyze the rest of your products that are experiencing a high sales volume that fit within the same category, given that your business operates within a niche, of course. You can then bundle 4 products for the price of 3, or 5 products for the price of 4. And this approach is not only going to bring immense value to the customer who just found out your brand exists, but it's also going to ensure that your margins are favorable. Not only that, but your AOV is going to skyrocket. If you're selling 2 products for $50 and now you just, increase the AOV to $100 to $150 because of this sweet, bundle or offer, your AOV just increased. Congratulations. All right, now let's talk about lifetime value, or LTV, and it's in the name. It's if John comes into your website over John's customer lifetime, how many purchases is he going to make? Now, biggest platform for increasing your LTV is going to be organic. So what you're posting, how, people that are following you, that's great retargeting. But in my opinion, undoubtedly, the king of customer LTV is email marketing. Email marketing should be doing at least 30% of your sales month over month. Why is that? Every purchase made on your Shopify store, unlike Amazon, I don't really like Amazon, to be honest, takes 25% of your sales and you can't collect any of the customer data. With Shopify, you can. So this allows you to gather first name, last name, email, hopefully a phone number, so you can do some SMS targeting. And this basically allows you to consistently build relationships with your customers. And these emails, like, don't say, buy now, buy now, buy now. You gotta build value here, people. You gotta remind them of, wow, this is a one-time sale we're offering, or this is the story of our brand, and this is why we built this product, is because we're trying to solve this problem, or we just collaborated with this awesome person or this awesome brand or this awesome organization. If somebody makes a purchase and they like your product, which they should, right? You have a good product, then consistent re-engagement and just value and nurturing is going to be crucial, right? So think of it this way. Paid ads are going to bring in the net new customers at hopefully a profitable rate. If they're not, book a call with me. But once those customers are in, it's the responsibility of the email marketing team to increase the LTV of each client and basically increase your MRR. But it's going to be up to your email marketing team to increase the LTV of, John, Jerry, Maria coming into your site, while also increasing your MRR. So this is the conversation about CAC to LTV and how that becomes relevant. And basically it's the cost of acquisition versus the lifetime value of the customer. So for example, your average buyer, John, we all love John, but John makes 2 purchases throughout the year. How can you retarget him to encourage 4 or 5 purchases without annoying him? Now, this is where the email and SMS dance begins. And I can't stress enough, if you don't think your email marketing is as healthy as it could be, this could be a huge game changer for you, because the goal is to increase the average customer's LTV from 2 purchases a year to 5, 10, or even, 12, 15 purchases. And that includes a lot of education and deals and offers and values that he may only be able to find via email. Another great thing you can do when targeting your John is to add product offerings. And this may complement the hero product that they already made a purchase on. So again, taking our brand Bijou Builds as an example, they sell a very large outdoor play structure and their hero product is the mainstay. Now, while the mainstay is the hero product, there are also additional items like swings that they can add to it, or a hammock that they can add to it. While the mainstay is the hero product, there are also additional items like swings or rope bridges or other things that you can add and basically build the ultimate play structure. But they are launching new products such as a soccer ball swing or a skateboard that attaches to a swing via ropes that are just awesome for this. And these products are consistently retargeted to the purchasers of the mainstay because they would be so perfect for the hero product in addition, right? And so the LTV and the AOV of the customers like John, if John buys the mainstay and later thinks, wow, this skate swing or soccer swing would be great, purchasing those 3 months later, therefore increases both his LTV and his AOV. Now, the best way to increase your LTV is to have an outstanding brand presence with high quality, value-based content, organically, email on your site. People just love you, right? Additionally, ensuring that your email marketing consistently delivers that value, potential new offers, upsells, and promotions that are aligned with your marketing calendar and seasonal trends. This approach is going to allow you to increase your customers' LTV without annoying them. It's a delicate dance and it requires skill. And it's something that we excel at if you want to book a call. Yeah, I know, third plug of the video. But anyway, guys, that's it. If any of this sounds interesting to you, great. That was the whole point. But basically, guys, the whole point of this video was for you to analyze your business and just take what we see that absolutely crushes for these businesses and take that and implement it into your business. Analyzing check 1, check 2, check 3, check 4. Where are the lowest hanging fruits? How's my AOV? How's my conversion rate? How are my unit economics? How's the health of my marketing? Do I need to rebuild everything? Do I just need to focus a little bit here? Just take what's in this video, look at everything as a whole, and build a freaking empire, baby. Build an amazing business. That's pretty much it. If this sounds interesting at all, book a call. I'd love to talk with you. Have a good one. Peace.